Hola all, we welcome you to day 2 of Hacking HR 2021 Global Conference on HR Innovation and Future of Work. Please officially register in the event via link that will be shared in the Zoom chat shortly. Please also download the event guide via the link that will be shared with you shortly. It will include all the information about the event. The activity codes for SHRM and HRCI recertification credits will be shared in the chat at the end of the session. If you miss the codes, you won't be able to retrieve them or request them at a later time. There is space in the event guide to save those codes so that it is easy for you to find later. Today's panel theme for discussion is technology, ally or enemy of the human experience at work. Our panelists with us today are Emmanuel, Head of Human Capital from Let's Hego, Nina, Agile Transformation and Digital Innovation Manager from AkzoNobel, Shannon, CHRO, Department of Children, Youth Justice and Multicultural Affairs, and Miguel, Head of People Analytics at Telefonica. You are encouraged to interact with the panelists and amongst you in the chat. It'll be great to see you respond to each other's questions and share resources and even your LinkedIn profiles to connect with others. All of these sessions are being recorded and will be posted in the Hacking HR Lab by mid to late April. Please register using the link that will be shared in the Zoom chat shortly. The HR recertification credits will be valid until the end of the year if you watch the recorded videos. However, to claim the credits, you must upgrade your Hacking HR Lab account to premium. No exceptions in that case. We have an early bird offer applicable until March 12th, wherein we are offering you $20 off. So from a membership of $99, you move on to $79 for the entire year's membership. The code will be shared with you shortly to avail of this opportunity. Moving on to our panel, thank you so much for taking out time today to join us. My question to Miguel: technology is being adapted differently in diverse economies by the businesses. How do you see this as a challenge for the organizations?
Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here sharing my experience. Okay, I think in diverse economies, we see different challenges, but as my company as a multinational is present in different countries with different situations, well, for us it's very positive because there's always one country that leads the way. And as we are able to replicate everything we're doing in one single country, because we have a very normalized structure in our data, in our procedures, in our way of doing things, it's really very easy to replicate once a country leads the way. We learn from the mistakes, we have the lessons learned, and then it's very quick to replicate this lesson in some other economy. So for us, it's really, really very relevant, and we think it's an anchor. And we are always very happy to be able to, as I say, implement what it was successful in one geography to the rest of the geographies.
Awesome. Shannon, we'd love to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, thanks. And hi everyone from Australia. It's 4 a.m. here, so hopefully you can hear me and see me okay. So for my agency, we work out of Australia in Queensland, so our diverse economies are obviously quite small compared to a European or an international context, but where we have challenges is that one office can be 5 hours drive away from another office and down a dirt road, and yet the challenge is incredibly different. The technology and the access that we have is the same. So for us, in terms of implementing new technology and how we do that to make sure employees get, first of all, the best experience, but also secondly, so we can still service children and young people in our community, we need to consider, I guess, what works from not only their perspective of the children, but also the people who are using it. So diversity for us in Australia is incredibly important with our First Nations people as well. And so how we develop technology and how we implement technology, that's always front of mind for us.
Great, thank you. Just a quick announcement. I think there was a chat glitch happening in Zoom. We had a couple of participants reaching out to us. The issue has been fixed. You may continue to share your views, your questions, and your LinkedIn profiles for networking. Emmanuel, over to you. How has been your experience with the technology in different economies, and how do you see at it?
Okay, so for me, here in Nigeria, I've seen that technology has become an enabler, okay? Yeah, there are two challenges. Technology could either become an enabler or a hindrance. So for my experience in my current organization, technology has been a very great enabler, one, in improving the experience of our people with the way we work, and then also enhancing the way we relate with our clients, okay? Technology making products on time to service the needs of our clients. And also we've seen technology helping us to be able to respond speedily to the needs of our employees. So for me, the experience that I've had here is that instead of technology hindering the way we do our work, it has enabled us to be able to improve and achieve almost tenfold what ordinarily we would have done. So an example would be during the pandemic, okay? Usually what takes us like 2 years to be able to roll out a new product now takes us a shorter space of less than 6 months to be able to get a new product into the market. So this is how technology has been able to enable us become better at what we do and what we intend to do.
Great, Nina, it'll be interesting to hear from you because AkzoNobel has a very, very vast global presence as far as business is concerned. So from people's standpoint and business standpoint, what is your observation and your learning so far at the organization?
Thank you very much. And indeed, we are a global organization with a global footprint. And for us, we truly believe that digital is here to stay and is also the way forward as part of our strategy as a business. We believe that in order to better serve our customers in the future, we definitely need to really focus on digital channels, for example. So technology is at the core in almost every of the initiatives and the key strategic focus that we have going forward. For us is an enabler. I recognize what Emmanuel says, but also what Miguel says. So the way how we operate is when we look at a new development, a new product, a new service, or an improvement, what we normally look at is where does it make sense for us to really test it, try, start, and see how it works. And we will choose, and depending on what are we trying to do, what challenge are we trying to solve, it might be China, it might be Brazil, it might be somewhere in Europe, you name it. But the whole idea is that we test it, we develop the concept, we see how it works, we learn from it, and then we replicate. So we can easily scale up. And what we see is that in certain markets, technology develops faster. So in those markets, we're trying also to build more people capabilities so that we have the right people when we need them in order to use that technology. So definitely we are following, although as a big organization, we also have a lot of legacy that we need to really manage. And it's not always that simple or that easy, but it's something that we're really looking at.
Great point, Nina. So I'm going to come back to you with the same question now. So we have somebody who's posted in our panel who is asking, and it's a very good question since you raised the fact that Akzo is present in China and in other countries where technology could be a differentiator. So if the adaptability is high, say, for example, in US, it may not be so rapid in China because of the infrastructure challenges that they face. So given that as the background, what do you see the technologies like Zoom, WebEx play in the organizations post-COVID?
Oh, absolutely. They play an immense role. Well, in our case, but I think many organizations will recognize that the fact that within 1 month we could scale up tremendously the amount of people who get access to, in our case, we use Microsoft Teams, and to really build up from 5,000 users who were the regular people who would work remotely to almost around 35,000 users. It's really massive. But definitely for us, it has been a great opportunity in order to really stay connected, especially during COVID times. So what do we see going forward? We definitely see that it's going to be a hybrid between working from home and working remotely. So definitely technology is also something that is helping us across the whole organization to stay connected. Yeah, maybe that resonates with someone who asked the question.
Sorry, there was a screen freeze. My bad. So, Shannon, building up to what Nina just mentioned about the technology that we had by one of our attendees here, what has been your experience? Because the kind of business that you are into, the organization is into, is very different from the regular businesses that we see in terms of technology and non-technology domains. We would love to hear your views.
Yeah, thank you. So for us, having access to technology, in a lot of cases, it can be as simple as people having a laptop and being able to complete their work while they're on the road, while they're out talking to families and children. So during COVID, what we did notice was a distinct change in terms of we had to provide the technology in order for the business to continue. So everyone had access to even basic things like internet access and things that they hadn't had access to before, for us to ramp up from people who use working from home and telecommuting as a personal choice or an option to now the majority of our workforce being able to access that and provide services to clients while they're on the road, but also our corporate and back office staff being able to access things and even access through our parliament and through our ministers around how do we interact with them on a daily basis through technology. So we've also seen an absolute rise in how we need to service people through technology. So where we would normally see children face to face or see families face to face, interacting with them on video conference and providing services through a remote way of interacting has really seen a turnaround and a heightened productivity, something that we're obviously taking advantage of and seeing how we can capitalise. So using our laptops is obviously a very basic thing compared to a lot of global organisations, but a big shift for a government organisation in terms of accessing work from home. And for us, it's a retention and attraction piece of the market for us. We find it very hard to attract talent into our business. So this just makes us, I guess, better prepared and it makes us stand out in the market, which is hugely beneficial for the work that we do.
Awesome, thank you. So coming to Emmanuel, it's a very beautiful discussion that we've got into with the different aspects of how not just the economies or the countries, but it's also the nature of the business that impacts the adaptation to the technology at workplaces. So in your experience, Emmanuel, how do you see organizations leveraging maximum potential of the technology and infrastructure available in different countries for their workforce strategies?
Okay, so for me, how I see organizations leveraging technology is first to be able to identify the technology that suits the kind of business that they are carrying on. Okay, so it's not because company A is adopting a particular type of technology, so you also need to rush into it. You need to assess your organization, determine what sort of solutions are you delivering, what sort of service do you operate in? Take, for instance, now, we are a financial services organization. Okay, so we currently have brick and mortar. Okay, we provide banking services. You know that it's not all the workforce, all members of the workforce will be able to work from home. Some will be able to work from home, others will not be able to work from home. So there's need, first of all, to analyze the type of work that each person within the system carries out. So that will then determine what sort of technology do you need to deploy. Say, for instance, accessing the core banking application from home. there are risks involved in assessing that. So what sort of mitigants would you put in place to ensure that your team members who would access that core banking solution from their home are able to do it such that the business is still safe? So these are some of the things that organizations will have to look into. Assessing that risk, determining what sort of technology will be okay for the employees to be able to work back. And then for those who are not able to work from home, okay, so there is need to have, I think it's Nina also that talked about having a hybrid system in place, whereby you have some coming to the office, maybe the IT people. So the technology that is driving the operation, there is need to visit the site from time to time to make sure that things are also running as expected. Yes, you can remotely troubleshoot, but sometimes you have to physically get to the location to see exactly what is happening. And then for those who eventually will have to access the office, you need to ensure that you put in place appropriate measures to ensure safety, okay? Especially in these days that we find ourselves. So this is, for me, what organizations need to put first, people safety first, before thinking of how to use the technology to enhance their operations.
Interesting insights, Emmanuel. Miguel, how has been your experience, and how is your organization leveraging the potential of technology in different countries for their people strategies?
Okay, but you mean under the COVID situation? Okay. Well, we've been working remotely from the beginning of the pandemic. It was last year, almost 1 year ago, and almost 90% of the people are working from home, are doing home office. Not some of them who are at the stores or which are working in operations in the streets. I mean, with the wires and with the networks. And things have changed a lot, because at the beginning we didn't know that if the networks will be able to support all these charts, but they did. And we did a huge transformation internally, because we were not using so much these technologies, this digital way of connecting. And they say that we have done a great acceleration in this way. We are, I will even say that we are better connected than we were before, because sometimes it was quite difficult to have a meeting with some people at the room and some others connected. And once everybody is connected, we all share the same info, and we are more connected even. And the news is that we are coming back to our offices next month in April, and we will be 50%, and then the following week the other 50%. And for sure, we are going to change as we are going to implement flexibility. Like in the week you are supposed to be at the office, you have up to 40% of your time flexible, and so you can choose if you want to take your kids to the school. You can go afterwards to the work, or you don't want to stay there after lunch or whatever. So there's total flexibility with this 40%, and I think this is a great even not revolution, because what we see in our eNPS is that people is much more satisfied. People are very happy, and they even, as we are a telco company and we were able to support all these cards, people are more engaged with the company. So yeah, in spite of the COVID, our results, our financial results have been very good. So I think this experience has changed us a lot internally, and we have this evolution, and we at the end we can say that it has been positive from the technology point of view. Of course, it's not possible from the health point of view.
Thank you. So this brings me to another thought, and Nina, this is over to you, and Shannon, over to you. Interestingly, what I hear from the panel is that while there is openness to adopt technology, earlier it was COVID and it was a forced choice. Now that the models would be changing for the workplace, some would adapt to completely virtual workspace, some would adapt to a hybrid model. How do you see this change happening? So what are the kind of strategies you see HR professionals building with the business leaders to have a seamless transition for the workforce through technology? That's one. And B, how do you see them helping readapt to the hybrid model, considering that we are so used to doing virtual work all the time now? So Nina, Shannon, over to you. Any one of you can start and then take over from there.
Right, I'm happy to go, Nina, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, definitely, I think HR professionals really need to be a strategic partner to the business in order this type of technology adaptation and adoption to be able to see the benefits for an organisation and contribute to a strategic conversation around not only why it's important to maintain, but why it's also important to continue to improve and adapt. And I think that technology, if we're going to see it being an ally to the human experience, then we really need to consider it from a human perspective. So from a HR point of view, we've seen things adopted in our organisation where we've encouraged people to connect on a different level. So making sure that building trust and understanding how they can connect with people through technology, something that we probably took for granted previously, where people were, part of a conversation around their team meetings and, from a very basic level, how you engage a new team member. That sort of discussion around the tools, resources, and skills that our managers need in order to adopt the technology and make sure that we're connecting on a human level through our computer screens is a critical piece of the puzzle. And I think that's where HR can play a partnership role and really lead and drive the way. And for us, also leading by example, so sharing what we've done in HR and how we've connected to make sure that it's a real lived experience for people, other than this is what we saw in a textbook or this is what we saw somewhere we looked up on the internet. So it's having that human face to what's happening, and also being willing to share failures. So where it hasn't worked and where you have learned things, having a trusted network of people to be able to support that and be able to grow from that. So definitely using coaching models to enable leaders to help each other through these different times.
Thanks, Shannon. And I do recognize what you're saying. I see it also within my organization. I truly believe HR has a key and essential role to play in this whole transition. And as you have said, Natasha, probably last year when COVID started, we were all in the shock wave, right? And the first priority was, let's get connected, right? Without really thinking too much about it, but let's stay connected. Now we are 1 year later. So what do we need to do 1 year later? What I see is that the HR plays definitely an important role in helping people understand that it is fine to continue working in a hybrid way, or to stay connected, or to go to the office, whatever the situation is, and where obviously in the country is allowed. I think HR can play definitely an important role in there. But also it's also moving beyond from what we were in the urgency mode last year, that our primary focus on technology was let's stay connected. Now it is, how do we really make sure that we can collaborate? How do we make sure that we really continue serving or better serving our customers? How do we make sure that our employee experience is still at the forefront of what we are doing? And these are the questions that we are asking ourselves as an organization. And we truly believe that that should be nowadays the focus. So it's a strong focus on tools, collaboration tools, using diverse technology like augmented reality, whatever you need to use it in order to keep engaging your employees and keep enhancing the employee experience. And on the other side, building that trust that Shannon mentioned as well, that, hey, we are all here in this together, and we are still, even despite the circumstances, we can continue to grow our business. So yeah, that's how we view it. Yeah.
Brilliant insights, Nina and Shannon. So building further to what you just shared with us, we have one of our audience members who've asked, what type of technology do you feel is the most beneficial from an HR standpoint? Is it mainly to access the systems, communication and collaboration, or is it the HRIS benefit administration system? Emmanuel and Miguel, I would love to hear your views on this.
Okay, so let me go first. So in terms of the system that I consider most beneficial from HR standpoint, from what we've done here in my organization, I can say that what is beneficial is a technology that enables collaboration. Considering that we are all, as a result of the new work mode, we are all in different locations, and there's need for us to stay in touch with one another and make sure that the work continues to go on. So a collaborative tool is very critical. Then the other thing that is also critical is, because we are working remotely, the fear with the line managers is how do I ensure that my team members are actually delivering on the task or assignment that has been given to them. So you also need a tool that would help you to be able to measure performance or contribution, okay? So now we're not measuring presenteeism, it is expecting the person to be there from a particular time to another time, okay? So you don't say you want to see this person 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. No, what you want to see is the output. Task needs to be done. So has it been done? If it's not done, what are the challenges? You need to have a tool that will enable you to do that. So in my organization, what we've done is to deploy Microsoft Teams, okay? So with Microsoft Teams, we're able, in addition with Zoom, okay, we're able to have on a daily basis, okay, have like a stand-up meeting that is just 10, 15 minute stand-up meeting to check and see what were we supposed to do yesterday, what have you done, and what do you plan to do today? So that helps us. Then because we have, we use Microsoft Teams, it's easy for you to itemize the task, okay? This is the goal for this particular week. So it makes it easy for you to put that. And at the end of the week, you have a retrospective meeting where you review to see what we scheduled to do for the week, did we accomplish them? And then we now have more like a sprint planning meeting for the following week to decide, okay, this following week, these are the goals that we need to achieve. So this, for me, are the kind of tools or technology that is beneficial from the HR standpoint. The issues of benefit systems or HRI system, those ones should be given. Those are basic, okay? So let's say, for instance, the employee requires to take any leave of absence or requires any services from HR. The HRIS should automatically help provide that service. But in terms of managing the workforce to ensure that we are still functional, we're achieving the goals for the business, because if the business is not functioning, the business is not moving, then you will discover that we will not be able to support our people. So in order to support our people, we need to make sure that we provide them technology or tools that will help them work from wherever they choose to work from, especially in this particular time. So those are the technology tools that I would say from the HR standpoint and from what we are doing in my organization that are beneficial to help the organization drive and achieve these goals that they've set out for themselves. Thank you, Natasha.
Miguel, your view.
Yeah, for me, as I am a data analytics guy, and I'm very passionate about data, for me it's a great challenge and a great opportunity to analyze what is happening with all this collaboration, with all these networks. And if you use like we do Office 365, all the communications we're using are through Teams and through Outlook. And if you can use some tools like Workplace Analytics, you are able to see how your people is communicating. Not individually, but the groups. I mean, the groups. How is the groups are communication? And this is a very interesting. There are a lot of interesting theories about what they call organizational network analytics, and you can see when some networks of communication are innovative, are describing people that are innovative. You can see when you can connect when some teams are doing extra hours or working after hours, or are sending so much emails, and they have a work overload. So you are able to connect this with the engagement and with the employee satisfaction. So again, you can see, you can show with data that the diversity teams are much more, have bigger or greater performance than those teams that are not diverse. So it's a great opportunity to show the things that work, that help the employees to be more satisfied, that have a better performance, increasing diversity, reducing overloads, reducing unuseful meetings, because you can also monitorize if someone is doing multitasking at the same time he's connecting at a meeting. So the meeting is not so important for you, so you shouldn't be at a meeting. So we have a lot of information now that can help us to improve the performance of our company using data and analytics, always from the benefit of the employees. This is not a question of monitorize if someone is working or not. It's a way to understand which are the best patterns that can help us to improve as a company and benefiting also the employees.
Great, thank you.
Echo that. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I just echo that in terms of the importance of people analytics in helping you as a HR professional or parallel professional, helping you drive change in the business, having the right data and understanding what are you trying to measure and why it's working. That's where you're going to help see a better opportunity for return on investment and a business case to be able to say why you need to continue to invest in technology and how that will help the workforce overall. So yeah, could not echo those comments further, Miguel, around data and data analytics and how it helps us as professionals.
Great. So Nina and Shannon, I have a question for you here from the audience. Considering that remote work and technology right now are the biggest enablers for the organization that we just discussed briefly, how do you see organizations actually reaching out globally for workforce resources through a combination of these two positives?
Yeah, maybe can I start, Shannon? I do see that it's only beneficial. So let me just say the short sentence. Within AkzoNobel, what I have seen in the past is that we are a truly global organization. So when needed, we would get also resources from wherever they are, but then we will relocate them. And now that need is not there anymore, because if you are interconnected, it doesn't matter where someone will be and what capabilities they will bring, as long as they want to work together with us, right? So I do see that there has been already a shift, and it will always depend on what kind of roles are we talking here about, because there are certain roles in which, you know, client service roles, where there is a face-to-face contact, or there is manufacturing, which we also have. Definitely, probably there you will still see the exception. But what I do see is that for other type of roles, as long as you are interconnected, it doesn't really matter anymore. And I do see a trend that you can tap into a more wider amount of resources everywhere, right? And what we also see on the digital space, because I'm also focusing in that particular area, is that nowadays we are seeing these conglomerates of entities offering massively freelance work from no matter wherever you want to tap into. And that's also a great resource because it makes it completely easy for you to start really looking for the right talent that you need and to tap into that talent as soon as possible, as soon as you need it. So definitely I see that this is a trend going forward, and definitely a lot of companies should be looking at that also to move in that direction.
Yeah, great points, Nina. And for us in Australia, obviously, we would love to attract a global workforce. That would be definitely something that we are aiming towards. So if anyone does want to be a child safety officer, let me know. But there's definitely opportunities for us that this has opened up that we haven't had previously, because we haven't either needed to or even considered it to be one of our priorities, because obviously the COVID has given us an opportunity to shift in different ways of thinking. So for us, accessing talent and understanding what would a global market mean for us as a workforce are things that we are exploring, and how we do that is next on the agenda. For us also, the exploration of vendors and suppliers, so being able to consider who can provide services to us that we haven't tapped into previously, and how easy that would be now because everyone is connected globally through technology. So different opportunities for us working in government. We can be quite limited in terms of procurement and where data is stored and how we access it. But I think for us, the opportunity to explore more than ever before is what makes this opportunity critical for us to continue, not only for our own employees, but for the clients that we serve. And I mean, participating in this conference, for example, is an opportunity for us to access global learning and global development for our staff. So pieces of the puzzle. Previously, we'd send people to conferences, across the river. Now we're accessing and tapping into markets to help learn and network and connect. So I think one of the benefits for not only a whole organisation, but our HR teams has been connecting with people on an international level to understand, well, how are they coping? What are they doing? And, obviously Australia has a very limited COVID exposure, so we're incredibly blessed. But accessing people who we haven't been able to access previously has definitely been an advantage for us.
Super, great insights. So now I have an open question for all the four panelists here. There's somebody from the audience who posted this. I'm going to rephrase that because I don't want to make it specifically to predictive analytics basis. What are some of the modern technologies in terms of trends that you have been seeing is being used or leveraged, or can be potentially used or leveraged by the organizations to improve their data analytics for workforce decisions and business decisions? This is open to all the four panelists for a discussion. So Miguel, maybe you would like to start.
Yes, we are using, not because of we are working remotely, but we are using technology to improve also our selection, because we have a skills taxonomy that is our own taxonomy, and our postings are always defined as a set of skills, skills of and levels. Each skill can have a level from 1 to 4. 1 is beginner and 4 is master, okay? And area of our posting is as a set tag with the skills and levels. And we are able to match the info with all the candidates, because we can use an online assessment, as LinkedIn is doing, for example, or we can read from their CV or from their resume all the data, and with artificial intelligence, we are able to translate this test in the skills and be able to match with ours, so that we are able to know if someone is matching to our posting or not. So this is one way to apply technology and artificial intelligence to reduce time and of our recruiters, and to get better results in less time.
Great. Emmanuel, your views?
So what I've noticed, what we have done in that aspect is trying to measure compliance, okay? So we deployed a training, because we're all working remotely and the tendency for everything to be done remotely is there. We had to deliver an online training that talks about the risk of working remotely. Sometimes you get some emails you need to click, and eventually that corrupts the system. Okay, so after deploying that training, in order to be sure that people are actually living up to what we want them to do, okay, so a test will go out, an email that is not a genuine email will go out, and then just to see, will people just click on any link, even though this email is not coming from an authorized source, okay? So what happens is when you mistakenly click on it, you get another message that tells you, okay, so this is a test, you fail the test, you need to go and take that training again. And so that message that goes out is able to help us know how many of the total workforce that have gone through the training, because we know who has gone through the training. The system is able to tell you who has gone through the training. Of that total number of people who have gone through the training, how many of them are failing to apply the training? If they fail to apply the training, it means they need to be retrained. And then those of them who are also able to comply, you know, who do not click on those fictitious links that would test whether they are actually doing the things that have been taught. So this is some of the things that I've seen that we have put in place to ensure that we get benefit. So the data that we gather from that enables us to know, do we need to repeat this training, or has everyone now gotten used to what we want them to do and then they're doing it correct? So at intervals, that goes out. So this is something that it's also good, and organizations might want to begin to adopt or adapt it for their operations. Yes.
Great. Nina, on to you. Your views, please. And Shannon, immediately after, it's going to be you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, in our case, I would say there's two angles to this question. One is indeed how are we using data analytics to support also the development or decisions around our workforce. I think within AkzoNobel, we are at an earlier stage in there. So what we are doing is also basically analyzing data and making decisions, like Emmanuel has explained. We would love to shift into predictive analytics so that we could really actually make better decisions and anticipate the needs for our workforce, but we are really building the capabilities, so we are not there yet. That's on one side. What I see on the other side, on the business side, is we are really growing our data analytics capabilities across the whole organization. And this is for us extremely important, because this is really focusing on the direction of how can you predict, for example, production, businesses, and how can you use data as well in order to create new business models. So all these fields are the fields that we are exploring. And to me, that's, as I said, one side of the story. And the other side is that when you have a whole workforce who is used to work, or who needs to get access to data in massive amounts, you also need to make it accessible to them and need to cater for their needs, having the right technology so that they can really make use for that. And in our case, what we are doing is actually we are shifting everything into a cloud-based platform, so that actually from that perspective, we can get and give access to everyone who needs to tap into data for whatever purpose, whether if it's HR, production, marketing, innovation, you name it, but they can get access to the right data and they can work with it, they can play with it, they can test with it, and they can really design something. And that's also equally important from the technology point of view. So that's where we are ourselves. Shannon?
Thanks, Nina. So yeah, definitely resonated with me there when you spoke about the capability and you know, moving to the predictive analytics. I think that we're in a similar case around, we've got access to data and we use the data, but how are we actually doing it in a really thoughtful and modern way? And I guess that's where organisations, we talk about modern technologies and how you're using data. It doesn't have to be fancy to start, and I think that's, you know, some organisations are at different points of the channel. So we definitely didn't start with anything fancy. We started with a spreadsheet and then built up from there to having an actual platform, and now having automated reporting that's available to managers and regions and across our state to be able to understand what does the workforce look like, even how are we tracking against goals, and what have we done. So I think an important part in terms of improving on data analytics on top of the capability is really understanding what is it that you are trying to measure and being really clear about that. You've got to have somewhere to start, and I would say start small, because you can't do everything all at once. And I guess in terms of building the skills of staff, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to go to another area of the business that might do great analytics for their own area, but not necessarily people-related data, and then using that to inform decisions about the workforce and your strategies is definitely, I think, a modern approach to how you would do it. So even if you start on a spreadsheet, you can still be modern in your approach to how you use that data that you pull to understand what decisions need to be made.
Great insight. So in the interest of time, this is going to be the last question for the panel. And it's going to be a very detailed discussion, I'm sure. We had somebody post this in the Q&A section too. I'm not going to limit this to the HR tech startups. So we see AI, blockchain, IoT, different technologies being used on the business front. Very few functions of HR have been actually driven towards these technologies to bring in the workforce life cycle experience being enhanced. Building from the question what one of the audience member asked us, how do you see HR tech startups, your advice to the HR tech startups of how they can leverage these kind of technologies for the organizations that they will partner with to build the entire employee life cycle journey? Nina, maybe you could start, followed with Miguel, Shannon, and Emmanuel.
Thank you. Well, my advice for HR tech startups is to really look at where do you think you can help an organization to tap a value from that technology, right? Well, what we see is, personally, I'm confronted with hundreds of requests of people trying to promote something on the HR tech. And what we definitely are looking at is, first, let's look at what are our biggest challenges, right? And from our biggest challenges, we want to really identify how technology can help us there. So to give you an example, we recently tested how augmented reality could help us to do training and development. And it proved actually to be a successful answer. Now, when you are in HR tech, it will be extremely good that you actually focus on what is exactly the added value an organization will gain as a result of using whatever you are promoting, whatever, if it's an app or whatever is a new technology, and put it from that perspective. I would say that exploring artificial intelligence is also one of the areas that definitely is going to have a high impact and will continue to have. So something like marketplaces for employees and development opportunities could be one opportunity to look at. But there are so many more things that you could do with new technology nowadays that I think is just a question of trying to find out what is the niche and link it to what's the added value for the organization.
Miguel.
Yes, for a startup, I would recommend to focus on something absolutely differential what HR has been doing in the last years. It could be artificial intelligence application, okay? I will tell you some of the things we're doing, applying artificial intelligence. I've been working in HR in an HR function for just 1 year. I've been all my career working in data analytics, big data, and artificial intelligence. And I'm trying to transform HR using artificial intelligence. And we use artificial intelligence, firstly, to provide our employees personalized attention. And this personalized attention, I'm not talking about the typical chatbot, of course not. What I'm talking about is that, firstly, we need to know our people, our employees, and the way to know them is that we convert how they are professionally thinking, okay, in data. So we transform what they are in what we call their digital twins. And we transform in skills and levels of these skills. Not just the function they are doing right now, because this is not a digital twin, but all the story, all the history they have, all the skills they have, about their experience, about their education, but all the skills they would like to acquire. This is really, very important. Where do you want to transform? And all this info, we normalize this info, and based on that, every one of us is totally different. So as we are totally different, everyone will have different attention. They will be provided different recommendation of skills they should invest in developing if they want to have another role in the future, a future role. And of course, providing different recommendation of education contents we have to help them to improve the skills they need to these roles of the future. And of course, recommending them also different vacancies we have internally. And this is also, as I said, totally different, the recommendation every person have based on how they are and how they would like to be. And this is the way we are applying artificial intelligence because the basis of all this is not to provide, the objective is not to provide personalized attention, is to develop our people as they are able to upskill them, and we have the enough people to do our skilling, and we are ready to compete in the markets with the new roles and the new profiles that are needed. So this is a strategic way to transform day by day our workforce, because this is not something you can do from one day to another. So you have to invest daily in a daily basis in order to transform your people.
Great point, Miguel. Shannon, your views.
Thanks, Natasha. So I think from a different perspective, I would suggest that don't always go in assuming that the same knowledge is there in the organisation about what you do and how they can access the technology. So understand the organisation really well that you're talking to and understand what their problems are and challenges are. And you might have to start with some basics and don't be afraid to start with explaining what things are and explaining how you can help them and building capability as opposed to trying to put forward these excellent, amazing modern technologies and tools that do everything for everyone. First of all, sometimes people can't afford that. So having access to options for them to be able to start small and build on that for their own capability, but also confidence. People we know are afraid of change, afraid of technology in a lot of instances. So I would suggest that how can you make that change journey easier, and maybe that's starting with the basics.
Great. Emmanuel, yours is going to be the final view, and I'll request if you can also take up this aspect, and it's a very beautiful question that has come from the audience at the last minute. While we're discussing this piece, is the organization size also one of the factors to be considered for the technology benefits in the life experience? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Natasha. So for me, my advice to HR tech startups is I've had situations where some HR tech startups have approached me. They come with a very beautiful solution. They have their idea of what they want to sell, what they think my need is, okay? And at the end of the day, there was one that actually sat through the presentation, they did a demo, and I was asking myself, I can't see anything special with what you have, even though the person is excited, you know, to share the solution. So my advice would be, there is need, first of all, for you to identify an organization that you want to work with or in a particular sector. Try to understand what their challenges are, okay? When you've seen what the challenges are, you can have a very big and elaborate dream of the solution you want to build, okay? But in building this solution, deliver them in small sprints so that you have what we call, in the Agile principle, you have what we call the most viable, you have a viable product, minimum viable product, okay, that can be used. And then as we move, you expand and you keep scaling on top of that particular solution that you have. So this is something that would work very well and help them to be able to gain inroads with organizations that will require their solution. So that is very critical. Then in terms of this tech, is it suitable for large or small organization? In my view, I think it's suitable for every organization, okay? So you can have them in different sizes. Then depending on the organization, you can have subscription models, okay? Whereby if the organization is small, then they can access a certain feature which is suitable for their own need. So the larger the organization, the more complex their challenges are. So you will not compare the complexity of a large organization with that of a small organization. So a small organization might need just very few features. So your solution should be able to cater for them. And if you have an organization that has a bigger challenge, then your solution should be able to cater for them. So for the small to the big, tech is very critical and very beneficial. Because from the small, if you're able to begin to build your tech and gather the data that is required, it makes it easy. You know, we're talking about predictive analytics. So it makes it easy because you already have some data points. You'll be able to predict what is going to happen within that organization, how you'll be able to relate with your people and provide the appropriate service that they require. So this is basically for me what I will want to share as my concluding remarks. Thank you.
Great, great. Awesome views and thoughts. Just a quick recap. We have the SHRM and the HRCI activity codes in the chat. We hope that you got the opportunity to copy them because you will not be able to have access to it later. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been a very insightful conversation, right from the technology challenges to how it can actually be adapted in a very, very collaborative way by the organizations, business leaders, HR, and the people themselves to create an overall organization experience, which is a game changer for sure for the organizations. And also it brings in a lot of collaboration globally and effectively for the businesses to grow and sustain in the months to come. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay connected with the next upcoming session. We would love to see you participating everywhere else in all the sessions and have the insightful conversations. You can connect with our panelists on LinkedIn. We've already announced their names. They're available on the screen. Please feel free to have your continued conversations with them via LinkedIn, and they'll be happy to answer the rest of your questions. Thank you so much and have a great evening ahead.